Hello friends, how are you today? I'm so excited to be back here to discuss with you the Schumann resonance, to discuss with you about the energies and how they may affect us as human beings. I have a science approach and an intuitive approach, and I combine the two of these things. My last video was mostly about technical things about waves and ideas about them. And I'm going to continue that in the next video when I will talk about this stuff here. In the current video, I'm going to focus on this because this is an amazing set of waves that happened in the chart today. And before I get into discussing what this was about, and we're going to look at the black charts really quick, I want to just give you the background. So if you're new, the Schumann resonance is an energy in the air. It's non-physical, and it is from the ground to the top of the atmosphere. And within that space, that energetic space of the high atmosphere and then the surface of the planet, essentially there's energy that essentially goes around and around the planet in waves. And the Schumann is a part of that energy that is between 0 and 40 hertz. Now, it also can go higher than that, but the chart that I use focuses on 0 to 40 hertz. In this range, there are 4 Schumann resonances. There are some others a little bit higher than that. And so it's my view, the Schumann resonance are electromagnetic waves. And it's my view that this image that you see before you is also a map of human consciousness. Now, there are other factors involved as well, yes. But it's fascinating because the Schumann resonance goes from 0 to 40 hertz, which is the same range of hertz as human brain waves. And so that's one of the reasons that I look at it that way, as reflecting what the group consciousness of humanity is thinking. And for more information on the other reasons why I see the Schumann resonance as reflective of us as the human community, you can go to my beginner playlist. In addition, if you're interested in getting an energy reading from me or an astrology reading from me, there will be a link down below. I do sessions one-on-one, and I do whole classes. Right now I'm holding the Human Energy 2 class, and I will be starting another class that will be another beginner class sometime soon. So you can always message me at my contact information and let me know if you're available. Some people have already done that, and I just haven't. I haven't set a date yet for the class, so I will be reaching out when I do that. Okay, so let's look at these waves, and it's really interesting because they were reminiscent to me of 2 waves that we have seen in the chart before, and that is, here we go. Okay, so this wave here, which looked like sort of a body and then an angel wing, okay, that appeared in the chart on July 2nd of 2020. And this basic shape here was very reminiscent to me of this shape here. And even where the top of the wave is kind of rectangly and the whole wave is kind of rectangly. And then you have possibly the beginning of a wing going off of it. It's obviously not fully formed. So it's not quite that expanded presence that you feel when you visually look at it. In fact, there's a lot of red energy in the chart, in this image. It's interesting because this image here reminded me of an image that we saw previously as well, which I called the Earth Shaman. And that is this image here. This was in March of 2021. And you can see here that the white top going into the red and then the green with the long extended red. That's why I felt that it reminded me of that image of the Earth Shaman. But there are also differences, like the little shaman wasn't visible in this wave, and there was also a cone type shape to this wave, and here it's more flattish, more like a tongue almost than a cone. There was also another, see if you can see the eyes here, eye, nose, and then like a mouth here. There was another face image, and there's not one here. But what's interesting is I did mirror this image here, this and this. I'm going to show you that in a second when I go over my impressions intuitively of what the energy means. Okay, this is the frequencies, and you can see right here, the wave started at about 1500 hours. Let me make this bigger. Okay, so I've got this. I'm going to put this at 14 because that's right before the wave started, and the wave started at 15. So what you can see here is that when this wave started, there was a significant drop-off in the frequencies of the white, the yellow, and the red. And there was a drop-off in green, but it wasn't quite as dramatic as the other resonances. To me, what that says is you have the white really at work here with the yellow and the red. The green is, it's not that it's much less affected. I would say, but it is much less effective overall. But I view the yellow and the red as also being parts of the human experience. I view the green as reflecting humanity in general. So these parts of our experience were the most affected. The yellow, in my view, being the non-physical closest to the body, the astral or the fourth dimension, and the red, in my view, being the denser energies, whether they be thoughts, emotions, experiences, forces of darkness, etc. I view that as what the red represents. And then the white would be expanded energies, energies that show action, where the action is, even celestial energies at times. And a lot of times the white will move and almost seem to support certain actions in the chart, like it's doing now, where it goes down with the yellow and the red. A lot of times the white and the green will move together. I always think of that as the divine supporting humanity. These are the amplitudes, and this was a strong wave. It's a 53 amplitude in white, 39 in yellow, 30, which is pretty close to 39, so it's pretty tight there, in red, and then 27 in green. So the interesting thing about this wave is the numbers, the amplitudes are very tight in a tight grouping. Sometimes the amplitudes can really drop off as you go through these sets of resonances, but no, they're very tight together, with the strongest, which is typical, being in white. So again, 1400 is the hour before the wave happened. So it was interesting because the power came on, the strength of the energy started at 14, and then interestingly dipped when the wave started at 15, and then came back up and peaked again to the same level in white, to slightly higher than the initial peak in yellow. Same with red and green. The white was the only one that had two peaks, and it is actually unusual to have two peaks at the same level like this in the white. So the white was very potent in both of these waves, and a potent force. Now, this is interesting because I've said before, the darkness rises before the light. And it's interesting because what you see here, and you can see the hours down here. So right here is 15. Okay, so that's when the wave started. So you see the white rise, which I believe is, the light, an expanded energy, which that's what we usually call the light, something that seems expanded or higher dimensional state or whatever. And the yellow rises twice. See how it peaks here twice. Now it's at 10, so that's not super strong, but it does peak before the wave. And then, interestingly, after the wave, or towards the end of these two waves, you get a peak in red and in green. So what that tells me is I think that the waves are then affecting the red and the green. 17 in the green is a medium number. The high is like 30, 31. So that's a good strength and quality for this. And then at 15, that's, mezza, as one of my family members used to say. All right. So, so the qualities are reflective, in my view, of the higher the quality, the closest the resonance is to the truth of what it is, of its pure state. So that's how I would, layman's terms, interpret the quality information. Okay, so essentially, I said earlier about darkness rising before the light. So what I think this is astral energies, which can include light and dark. Okay, light and dark in the spectrum of duality. So some of the effects of dark forces or our shadow personality as human beings can be in this yellow as well. The densest parts of it, though, in my view, are in the red. So these parts of us, the shadow aspects, rise before the wave, and they rise to be addressed, in my view. And that would explain why the green frequencies stay pretty, they don't have a major shift, right? Because as we address the shadow side of our personality, we get stronger. So that's my view. So the other last thing I'd say here in the black charts is that it was very interesting to me that there was a significant vertical action in the frequency waves here. And what I mean by that is that the most obvious case is if you compare sort of the vertical height of the waves here in yellow with then here, like you can see they've gone much higher, and the same thing even with green, like green, actually with all of them, with the exception of white. White was moving the most vertically beforehand. But essentially what I'm saying is that there's a shift in the wave shape here where we're hitting more vertical peaks and less short vertical peaks. So what happens is you get these big long lines. This is a concept that I've been having a bunch of thoughts on about the wave shapes, and I'm going to do another video on this because I want to stay focused on the meaning of the waves instead of the technical aspects of the waves in this video. Okay, so now I'm going to give you an intuitive reading of this energy. So first of all, I want to contrast it with this because I think it's meaningful. When I saw this, what I saw was a bunch of people walking forward, and they're walking forward at this angle. Okay, so they're walking forward to the right, to our right as we look at the chart, and to the right chronologically is the future, and they're very confident as they walk forward. And we have all these vertical lines in the chart that have been just so amazing. And I think that I can't prove this, but I have a feeling that I wonder if the solar activity has something to do with these vertical lines, because as of May 13th, I haven't checked the data in the last 6 days, but so I'm sure it's much more than that now, but there had been like 61 M-class flares this year, which is an extraordinary number. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so what I wanted to say was, so you have this feeling of people walking forward into the future, right? And they have their wits about them. They have plans and hopes and dreams for the future. And then what happens? You get this, oh, what was that? You get this dragon-y energy here, like from the dark forces pop up, not liking that very much. Well, they have a very strong energy, and they're divinely, human beings are children of God, children of the Most High, the creator of the universe. So when we set our sights to something and we are acting in alignment with divine will through us, in alignment with the highest good as we perceive it, and these things are personally known to us. It's in my view. It's not really something that can be taught. It's something that you develop an understanding of within. Kind of like, you just have a conscience. And in my view, people are just aware of the divine. Many people just have an experience. And that's how you even, I know that I've had that experience. So that's how you come to understand that exists. Okay, so when I looked at this waves, the first intuitive impressions that I have were that there was a guardian aspect and an otherworldly aspect. And it does relate back to previously waves like this had like a shamanic intuitive energy or an angelic or celestial intuitive energy, but it's more than that, because you see in this wave here, you see, the angel was guarding, and I felt like this was an Archangel Michael, but he has people at his back, right? And he's standing firm, standing stalwart, protecting, guarding, and protecting, those behind him. Anyway, so in the current chart, there's also this kind of a guardian energy, but it's less like how angels can feel really loving and just soft wings and all this kind of energy, but this is a bit harsher. And the thing about guardians, and there are spiritual guardians, I don't know if any of you, there are various movies and things that reflect images of this, but the thing about a guardian, and if you have any spiritual experiences where you encounter this energy, a guardian is committed to certain parameters, and you will not pass unless you are resonant with those parameters. And if you are resonant, you will pass through the gate, or the guardian will allow you to pass, or however that works. So there's a strength and a resolve here that is very prominent. That's what I perceived. The guardians at the gate, when I first saw this, that's what I thought. And it's interesting because these vertical lines here in the white are very prominent. Okay, now let me show you the mirrored image, because this was very interesting. So what I do sometimes is I take the image and I will mirror it. So I saw an image of a face over here, and it looked like a face with like something like red hair or something. So I thought that I would look closer at that, and then I also looked at the waves. So actually I see a face right there. Right now it looks like a male face looking to the left. That's so interesting. All right, so let me show you this. Okay, so first I'll show you the smaller mirror right here. And so this is how it came out. Now it's interesting because when I did this, I'm going to show you up close. But first, the overall image was so fascinating. It almost looked like a butterfly here at the top, right? Here's a wing, here's the center body, here's a wing, and then there's the antenna. But then here, this looked like a spider, like a very detailed, in a very detailed fashion, very decorated spider. That was wild. The spider seems really intense. Now, it's interesting because spiders can also represent, in my view, certain kinds of AI energy. But of course, spiders are also part of the natural world. So, they can weave the web of life, or they can represent, for some reason, for some reason, I see some of the AI as spider-like. But anyway, for whatever reason, that's how I perceive them. Okay, so now let's look a little closer at these images. And let's start at the bottom here. This is very interesting. Okay. Do you see, it's very interesting because I see several faces in this. Make it bigger. Kind of kind of, I don't know if I would say spooky. It's definitely not human, whatever these are. But I do see a face here and a face here that looks more human on the left and the right. It almost in a way reminded me of the three-headed gods or goddesses that are from Greek mythology. But yeah, I thought that was really wild. And then this here looks very ancient. There's an eye here, and then I perceive this as the nose area. Very ancient and funky. There's other images down here. Okay, now I'm just going to roll it up. Let you look at what you see here. This is very intricate here. Very beautiful. This here, it's very interesting. When I saw this, see the rectangle with the decorated handles here, the decorated feet. It's a box made out of gold. I viewed this as the Ark of the Covenant. That's just what came to me, the Ark of the Covenant, which is mentioned in the Bible. All right, now when we zero in here, I'm going to pause it here for a second. Bring it up here. Do you see the face here? The red. See, there's red hair on the left and the right. Here's the dark eye, nose, and the mouth. This was a very striking face to me. And actually, Alex, my friend Alex and I were looking at this. She saw it first. It's extremely unusual. And look at this. This is really interesting because don't these look exactly like hands here? And when I looked at it like this, it looked like there's a being here sitting on a throne. Right? And here's his arms. It almost looks like skull patches to the left here and the right. And then Alex noticed this. Look, he has a crown of gold. Look at that. With jewels, dark jewels on it. It's fairly amazing, really. It's really quite something. So I thought this was fascinating. And just look at that, the hands. Like you can even see the thumb and then the fingers here sitting on the throne. There's a cross too. There's a noticeable cross here. Yeah, it's so fascinating. I'm not going to make conclusions about these because I think all of us are going to see a lot of different things. So, but I do want to sort of highlight some things that I saw. But again, with this king, it's almost like I see the robes that he's wearing here. It's so fascinating. And then there's another image. Alex called this the old man. Then here, it's interesting, the red, well, it could be hair, but I also thought that it looked like a body with a foot on the ground and one foot up, the way that some, soldiers, some militaries, when they have dress parades, have their soldiers kick their feet up very high when they march. That's what that reminded me of. But anyway, I thought this was fascinating. Now look at this. This is the wave doubled. Not doubled, but with the two full waves attached with this. Let me just show you. Look at this. Isn't this incredible? I just thought that this was amazing. And now it's so interesting because doesn't it look like here the wizard behind the curtain is revealed? That's what I thought when I saw this. I thought, oh, look, there's the wizard behind the curtain. Person sitting on the throne here. There's the face of the person on the throne. Where is it? Hold on. Oh, there it is. There's the face right there. There's the crown. I'm going to make it a little smaller so you can see the rest of the throne. It's interesting because he's in disguise. There's a disguise because when I shift my vision, I see like an animal face here instead. Then when I shift it back, I see the man with the golden crown. And here he is sitting on the throne. here. And the Ark of the Covenant is down here. And then this is so interesting. This is an M here and an M, almost it looks like in another cross, with some beautiful designs. Anyway, so this was very interesting. I'm not sure what it means. But it was interesting because when I was looking at these wave pieces, I thought, I wonder if they go together. And it looked to me like they did go together. And so I put them together in this way. And if the Schumann resonance is a reflection of human consciousness, then it would, and if our consciousness is able to think non-linearly, then it would make sense that you could take the pieces, right? You could take the pieces, pieces of transmissions, and put them together in a way that made sense. So I found this absolutely fascinating. Now, I wanted to say something about the guardian energy really quick here. This is what I wanted to say, what I was thinking about. There's a striking image in the Schumann resonance, and it speaks to manipulation behind the scenes, the wizard at the bottom with the curtains being revealed. It speaks to I don't know, that interesting presence, and faces in the center of the doubled image. It was almost like a totem pole, and I don't know what it means overall, okay? But what I do want to share is what I've been sensing. And because I feel that it somehow goes with this, and I don't know how it goes with it, but I'll just lay it out there for you. What I feel is that we are in the middle of a planet-wide event. A planet-wide event, and it's really been a planet-wide, some kind of planet-wide attack. That's how it feels. And it's not within parameters that we have ever thought of before. It's not your traditional nation state. It's not your, typical ways of looking at these things or experiencing them. And the seriousness of what's happened isn't really upon us yet. Of course, we'll probably be uncovering the stories of the actions and activities of the current time for many years to come. But what I felt like of these energies was that they were sobering. They were somber. I want to say they brook no interference, but really what it is the process of the elevation of humanity. There's something there where, I don't know, maybe something's being separated out, and many, many people are affected by this attack on all of humanity as one people. And I was looking at a video recently of this person. I was looking at this video from a conference on the disease that is currently in wide discussion for the last 2 years. And it was interesting because someone was talking over him. So it was just his face, and his talking he was playing in the background, but you couldn't hear him. And so it allowed me to look at his face and do an intuitive read. And when I saw his face and I saw his eyes as he was talking, what I could see is that this man has a deep understanding of the scope and breadth of this planet-wide attack and its effects on humanity in a way that most of us do not yet understand. And it's quite sombering. Whatever the details are, is quite sobering and quite somber. And, the choices that we make in these times are important, and they're important for us as individuals. They're important for us as members of the human community, because whatever has happened is really the way that I would say it is it's anti-human. It's anti-human life. To launch an attack on a planet is against the life of the beings that live on that planet. Here's where I wanted to just be really woo-woo with you guys. And by woo-woo, I mean, I just want to now paint a canvas with a broad brush, because I have some thoughts that have been going around in my mind about this in the past few days, and especially since the lunar eclipse last weekend. And what I've been thinking about is, I've been thinking about this, let's just call it a disease that's gone around the world in various forms, that's affected, virtually, it seems like virtually everyone on the planet. And, when I made the videos about the lunar eclipse, I talked a lot about the reptilian brain of the human being, because what I saw in the eclipse energies, it was so phenomenal. What I saw was that the energetics are holding back the ancient influences. Saturn is square the North Node and South Node, and the North and South Node, when you put them together, are like a giant reptile or a giant dragon. But really, when I see it in my vision, it's a giant reptile that goes across the chart, and that influences humanity from the moon. Or that has influenced at some point. So, but in the chart, these are mathematical points in relationship to the moon. So, because of some visions that I had recently and reading the chart, and seeing the large reptile in the center of the astrology wheel in a vision, what it led me to understand and to postulate was that humanity itself is rising here. Kind of like this picture here. I see this as a picture of people stepping forth and moving forward here on May 17th, right there. And at the lunar eclipse, in Jupiter's at 0 degrees of Aries, and it's in a positive relationship with Mercury, which was not retrograde yet. So, talking about plans, for mentally formulating really big plans. Like, I could just see that the energy of the new and the new age and the Aquarian age and all this is just roaring, ready to come out of us as living human beings. And then something has just like with a big paw or claw or whatever, has just come across all of us. And maybe it's just some kind of natural event. I mean, who knows in truth what all of this really it truly is, okay? But then it got me thinking, now these are just These are just out of the box thoughts that I had that I want to share. And I was thinking about the reptilian brain and how all of humanity has this. And I was thinking about, how some huge percentage of our population now has injections that, may change what human beings are, or, how their form is organically in some way. We just don't know. It's because of the experimental nature of these things. So what I just was thinking, what if, sometime a very long time ago, we were invaded and mated with, and that's how we got our reptilian brain. Maybe something, combined with humanity and caused that. And just because I was thinking that, what is the total human population going to look like in 3 generations, right? Or 4 generations or 5 generations, because now there's a certain percentage of humanity that's going to be, procreating, and with something that can potentially go through to the next generation and affect it. Then I was thinking about the concept of miasms in homeopathy. And I was thinking that, miasms are, I'm not a homeopathist, so I'm probably not going to say this exactly, but they're basically long-term, well-known diseases. From a homeopathic standpoint, they have a significant effect on the human energy field and the state of the body. And so if you work with a homeopath, what they will often do is attempt to assess you and see what miasms you carry, because all of humanity carries some number of these miasms. Why? Because we all intermingle, mate together, and then, we share the health experience together. So what I was thinking is that I wonder if COVID will become another miasm, that, in 100 years or 200 years, just like there's a miasm for tuberculosis and a miasm for, gonorrhea and a miasm for syphilis and a miasm for about 3 other things. I don't know what they all are, cancer, and then a couple of others. But maybe COVID will be one too. And then I was thinking maybe, as humanity has developed over time, maybe we get to a certain point and something attacks us, or something, sets us back, and maybe it sets us back on purpose and kills off a whole lot of us, so much so that we don't end up having cultural memory of exactly what happened. Because if enough people, if enough of the elders are gone, you don't necessarily have the long-term communicated memory, but yet it lives within us. It lives in our energy field, in our DNA. It lives in our consciousness, even if it's in the unconscious or subconscious. And that's why these things come to the forefront. All right. And that's why you can see them on something that would reflect conscious as well as unconscious energies. Who is the wizard behind the curtain? This wizard doesn't look human. The wizard's revealed. Maybe it's something else. What is this? What is this devilish looking sort of thing here? I don't know, but I certainly don't like its energy very much. What could in our subconscious, what could this face that looks like it's wearing a crown and sitting on a throne, and then if you shift your vision slightly, suddenly it's just a scary dragon, right? But so it's a shape-shifting aspect, or it's, someone who has the energetic skills to cloak themselves in another energy, right? But it's sitting on the throne, and it's above the Ark of the Covenant. This is creation level events here, where the Creator intervenes and makes a choice about my people are going to do this or that. right? So these are the things that I wanted to share with you. They're just thoughts that I've been having, and they're very woo-woo, but it's what I've been thinking. I've been thinking, and because let me tell you something. I'm, as you know, if you've been watching me for quite a while, I'm very spiritual, and I very much have a relationship with the divinity that I am, with my own soul. And so through visions that I've had and other experiences, I know that I am a soul in human form, and that soul is eternal. And so I don't have fear and concern in the way that I might if I didn't have God in my life, essentially. And it's my view that perhaps the whole thing on this planet, all the challenges, all the beauties and joys and the tragedies, maybe it's all meant to just turn us to God. That's actually what I've personally concluded. But because I have that faith and trust, okay, and sometimes I have to remind myself, right, because we're all human. And we have human failings, and but I believe that miracles are possible, and I believe that this time around, the planet-wide event upon humanity that we're all currently living through, that as a collective, last time it happened, we don't remember, and the time before that, we don't remember, and the time before that, we don't remember, and the time before that, we don't remember, but right now we're here, and we have a much higher consciousness than any time in human history that we know of. And we have the tool sets to engage with the divinity that we are, which literally is at the creation level of the Ark of the Covenant, okay? And this is a very sacred thing. So in saying it, I want to emphasize the sacredness of working at this level, right? Yet, Jesus Christ said, this you will do and more, speaking of his works, the miracles that he performed. And so we know that it's possible that us as human beings can find a way to perform works like he did, to walk in his footsteps, to understand how he may have embodied, so that we can elevate ourselves, raise up who we are, and return to living in alignment with the divinity that we are. Because in my view, the answers aren't out in the adventure of, darkness. The answers for me have been from turning back to the light that I am, and in every way that I can think of, re-embodying that. And I say re-embodying that because when we are born as children, in my view, we can still see back home. We can still see back up to heaven. We still, from the moment we're born, we still remember where we came from. And then slowly up until we're about 7 years old, we start to become an individuated human, but energetically, we're still connected, especially in the early years, to our spiritual home, to heaven, to the home of the soul. So if we are able to be that way as a baby being born, we ought to be able to learn to recover the truth of our purity, of our pure, true nature as adults. We could get it together enough, expand our consciousness, put practices and processes into place to return to our essence in living human form. And I understand that many people are focused on ascension, right? But to me, what ascension is about bringing the light into the body and ascending the physical form, elevating my frequency, elevating my vibration as a living human being with a living soul. Because to me, this is where the adventure is at. And when Jesus said, "This you will do and more," he was speaking to living human beings alive in their physical bodies. He said it while he was alive. Okay, so he meant as living humans. At least that's how I perceive that. Okay, and did he come back in light body? Yes. All right, so maybe we can do that too. But the planet-wide event that we both have just been through and are still going through, in my view, the way for us to achieve our highest outcomes individually and as a collective of the human race, our highest good, as the Creator determines that, not as anyone's human mind or alien mind determines that, but from the perspective of divinity through the human being, our highest good unfolding. This is the way to achieve that as we move through this event, to retain the advanced state of consciousness that we have seen a window into, and to go from there, at the cusp of the new Aquarian age, to fully claim who we are. Because listen, if the body is 80% water, and I can speak a word and water will form into a snowflake crystal, then I can speak health into my body in co-creation with the divinity that I am, right? If my body is made up of energy, and quantum physics tells us that the thoughts of the experimenter affect the experiment, then my thoughts affect the health, the status, the state of being of my human body, and it can shift accordingly. This is my human technology as a living human being, no wires, just God, just the divinity that I am as my partner, as my not just equal partner, but where I have chosen to align with divine will first through me. And that's, as my conscience guides me, as my inner spiritual guidance guides me, as my angels of the highest light, my guardian angels, my higher self, soul, source connected guides me, etc. So this is what I suggest to you, that whatever the history is, ultimately it doesn't matter. We currently are in challenging times, and faith, hope, and love are our guides in these matters. And the greatest of these is love. And the greatest love is that of the Creator for us, for ourselves. And if we can start by unconditionally loving ourselves first, no matter what we have done in life, well, perhaps that's a starting point.